It's a great pleasure, Adrian, to be back on your campus here, Data61. Adrian is kind of like the hope of my side, I think, for the innovation future of this country. A fantastic contribution with his team and what, 600 plus PhDs, I think, in the Data61 constellation. And really one of the great enablers of, indeed, our nation's innovation performance. And of course today we're here really to celebrate the achievements of Lease Info and the launch of Accurait, a brilliant new business intelligence potential, a new product. It's always exciting, a business intelligence software product. The company is the brainchild of co-founders Simon and Petra Fontaine, a startup in 2005, and never a struggle, just went on like no problems, and has achieved great scale and reputation in its as a sophisticated provider of retail leasing data. So Simon and Petra, you must be very proud of what's being achieved by your partners and colleagues and you guys in the room today. And I look forward to hearing more about Accurait and indeed its global prospects, hopefully, during the course of the day. Because it does seem not just another incremental shift, it looks like to me a step change opportunity in the service delivery, the sophistication of service delivery in your sector. Innovation and Science Australia, as Petra said in the introduction, is an independent statutory advisory board that I chair. It's populated by essentially a bunch of private sector practitioners in innovation. So we like to think of it not as a bureaucracy, but a get on with it sort of action place. We were asked by government to develop a strategic plan for how this country could dramatically lift its innovation performance by 2030. And so we set about that and produced a plan which we delivered to government earlier this year, and it was called Australia 230, Prosperity Through Innovation. That word that no politician fears to mention and that I insist on keeping talking about. Everywhere in the world, people are happy to talk about innovation, and we will be here. We've got to keep pounding it. We identified 5 overarching imperatives that would need to be tackled if Australia was to have a reasonable crack at becoming a truly innovative nation in the top tier of nations, which is ISA's vision for what's needed and what we can become. And these were imperatives that you would need to tack if you're after a sustainable prosperity less dependent upon the abundance of our natural resources, the wonderful and very efficiently worked natural resources, but for a sustainable prosperity out to 2030 and beyond. We wanted an economy and a society less dependent on that and increasingly driven by the inventiveness and our own ideas and the translation of those ideas into the marketplace. I'm not going to bang on in detail about that report, but I will just mention, the basic headings for those imperatives won't surprise you, but number 1 was about education, educating our kids with what will be relevant out in 2030. Number 2 was about industry improvement, accelerating investment in innovation to drive many, many more high-growth companies and jobs. Number 3, about government being more innovative, developing innovation in the way you develop policy and deliver it. Mind you, in Canberra, they're being fairly innovative in the last few days, aren't they? I haven't seen it before. And in service delivery and in procurement practices and in access to their data, other people's data, and the curation of that, and much more. Number 4 was about research and development, driving greater translation of our research discoveries into the marketplace, which, as Adrian said this morning, gets his people up in the morning. That's what they want to do. That's what we all want to see a heap more of. And number 5 was about culture and ambition, creating in this country a national culture of innovation, a love for and a respect of excellence in science and excellence in commercialisation, showing what our science and researchers can do to solve big problems for ourselves and for people around the world. Adrian mentioned briefly the genomics and precision medicine evolving, fantastic frontier of knowledge and technology, etc. It was in fact a national mission that we recommended be undertaken by government, led by government, and I'm pleased to say that that is underway with a now 550 million initial allocation, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity. We made 30 recommendations relating to those challenges, those 5 headings of challenges, and I thought just using Lease Info's demonstrable journey and success, I'd mention just to make reference to a couple of those recommendations. We examined the dilemma that you will know about, and I think generally across the population it's now recognised that we've got this reputation and hard evidence of the high quality of our research and discovery on the one hand, and a mediocre record of translating that fantastic research and discovery into the marketplace on the other hand. So and there are a number of reasons we've looked at for this failure, but one standout was the relatively low level of collaboration by business with publicly funded universities and other research organisations in this country. So relative to our competitor nations worldwide, we've got manifestly low rates of PhD in executive exchanges. I just heard from Simon that he now has PhDs on board in Lease Info. That's unusual in Australia. Unusual. I came across a study the other day by Grant Thornton, and they were looking at the composition of boards in the S&P 1,500 companies, and looking at, and they found that 40% of those companies have professors in the boardroom. And I thought, God, how many do we have on the ASX list, with professors? I don't think any of the companies would admit it, but there'd be about, a handful, one hand. And yet when I was talking to the G of 8 group the other day, there were about 140 faculty in the room from the 8 sandstones, plus University of Auckland. I did a survey. Hands up, who of you have been on boards? 2, hands went up. And then I said, next question, if invited, how many of you would genuinely be interested to accept an invitation to go on an ASX public company board? 2/3 went up. I thought, what a ridiculous waste of opportunity here. There's a great startup here, like seekacademia.com or something, that we could drive the domain strength into boardrooms. And the boards don't know about these people, and vice versa. It's a bit curiously Oz. Sweet, really, but not very effective. So in addition, we have to that other reasons, low level of business investment in higher education. By comparison, very low level of investment. And we have an RDTI, a Research and Development Tax Incentive, major government program, which neither mentions nor requires or generates collaboration. Lease Info's development of the Accurait platform into the marketplace is clearly an example of what collaboration can achieve. An innovative SME, small company, a highly skilled and motivated data science research group like Data61, an amazing resource that you can tap into, and lubricated creatively by CSIRO funding programs and, as you mentioned, Adrian, New South Wales, bless them, state government funding. That's successful collaboration writ large. And God knows we need a lot more of it. I've expressed a view on a number of occasions that many of our universities now and other publicly funded research orgos like CSIRO and Data61, they're actually doing a lot better reaching out to business than business is doing reaching into academia. You look at the startup and accelerator activity on campuses today compared to just 5 years ago, really active, really exciting, national, fantastic. And I think it has been helped by the government's introduction of an important new criterion in how you allocate research grants. So the block grants now have to, the recipients have to demonstrate industry engagement in a way that they haven't been required to previously. So that's a help. And it has affected, importantly, behaviours in the Vice-Chancellor's offices down. Our ISA's recommendations for reversing a really disappointing downward slide in business investment in R&D have not yet been accepted by the government. There seem to be some distractions at the moment. But this problem has to be urgently addressed, and I did go to some length to stress that at the recent Australian Financial Review Investment Summit, and I'm certainly not going to bang on about it again today, but it's a really big issue for this country right now. Another of ISA's recommendations was about prioritising a national capability in AI and in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And the good news is that more is happening in the AI ML space than meets the eye. Even people's understanding that these things exist compared to 12 months ago or 24 months ago. Although Australia's spend on AI is dwarfed by China, USA, European nations, there are nonetheless some important and exciting things happening. Companies are accelerating their awareness of AI, and the estimate I got of ASX-listed companies' engagement is now 8% of the companies on the exchange are actively investing in and trying to learn about AI and ML technology. The percentage of US companies is close to 25% already. Since the release of our Australia 230 report, the government announced a $30 million funding to enhance national capabilities in AI and ML, including a special new stream in the CRC, the Cooperative Research Centre's project stream of funding, and for a Data61-led development of an AI roadmap. In addition to that roadmap, by the end of this calendar year, I can tick off these activities happening. An AI Horizon Scan report by ACOLA, the Australian Council of Learned Academies, that's the correct ACOLA. And also AI is doing an ethics framework. This is essential we get this right. I think Alan Finkel's pretty involved with that as well, the chief scientist. The AI standards report led by Standards Australia, and the digital economy strategy led by the Department of Industry, Innovation and Science. So these are encouraging initiatives, and ISA believes, I certainly believe, that it's essential that the thought leadership that goes on with all of this embraces the approach which will allow and encourage very wide sharing, data sharing. Both public and industry-driven R&D should unlock the potential for data linkage, which in turn will support the global competitiveness, the opportunity for that competitiveness among innovative Australian companies. Limiting data access, there's a big political risk that you take the line on privacy and ethics and all of the troublesome issues that worry voters, and you just tighten up and you don't provide access meaningfully. That's a huge risk looking through the prism I have to look through in my task as chair of ISA, the prism of innovation, we need access. Companies, innovators, researchers, we need secondary use of data, yes, properly protocoled and protected, but you think about the potential for de-identified health data and where it can and should and will lead to new therapies and new breakthroughs. It's essential we keep open, not shut, on data access, including my health record. So once again, Lease Info presents a very clear example that although Australia will remain dwarfed in terms of macro spend on AI, it is nonetheless possible for us to focus on valuable market niches globally. Accurait is demonstrating this potential, and as I understand it, may get the opportunity, should get the opportunity to roll out this service globally. So I've banged on enough, Petra and Simon, but as I said before, you and your partners and colleagues here today provide, a splendid example of just what's possible if innovative entrepreneurs do collaborate with the best and brightest of our researchers and scientists. Everything's possible. And so again, can I congratulate you, wish you best wishes for the launch and success of Accurait. Thank you.